with no one to talk to about the gospel and sexuality, I just ended up not going to church anymore, and really had nowhere to turn at that point. Found that I just didn't feel safe to open up there. I still wanted to follow Jesus, but couldn't figure out how to reconcile the two things.
For me, this has been an issue that I think we've been silent on far too long.
These are tough things to be discussing. It's really easy to want to keep quiet, to not rock the boat.
I know that when we speak on issues of sexuality, it's personal, it's difficult, and I find it hard to know what to say. Sometimes I find it easy to be anxious about upsetting someone and offending them, and no one wants to do that, so it's easier to keep quiet.
If anything, it seems like speaking into this from a biblically faithful perspective will turn people away from Jesus. And the very last thing that I want to do, and those that I'm in community with want to do, is turn people away from Jesus. We're convinced he's the most important person for anybody to get to know.
My 3 adult children have grown up in a world where there's an awful lot said about relationships and sexuality. The problem is, most of that has not been said by the church.
I heard about a 9-year-old who came home from school, and she came home and told her mum, "Mum, I'm bisexual." Her mum asked her to explain why she thought that. She said, "Because at school today I was told, if I'm a girl and I love a boy, then I'm heterosexual, and if I'm a girl who loves another girl, I'm gay. If I love both, I'm bisexual."
What the world says is fundamentally confusing, and for many people, really damaging. People feel hurt.
People are being lied to about sex all the time. People are being told your value comes from your sexual identity and what you're doing with it. And yet the Bible has this wonderfully positive view.
For young people in particular, but for all of us today, really, we're swimming in a world where the information that we consume, the images that we see, they're all pointing to a view of reality where what's most important is me having my desires realized, is me becoming my true, authentic self. And in some sense, there is some overlap with the Christian story. Jesus does come that we might know life to the full, and his desire is for us to become the best version of ourselves that we can be, not as a personal improvement journey, but in the context of relationship with him.
The gospel is good news for literally everyone, and it is just as good news for a gay person as a straight person.
It's really important to teach our lay people the biblical perspective on marriage and sexuality, because they won't get it anywhere else.
Before I became a Christian, I had a girlfriend, several girlfriends, and so I know that it can be really enjoyable being in a relationship. But the reason I think that it is worth not doing that is because of what Jesus has done for me.
Don't be afraid to be a minority, to be a dissenting voice, or a voice speaking up for truth in a world that rejects any claims of truth.
A great theologian called Leslie Newbigin, when he came back from India, thinking about the Western Church, he said, its greatest danger, and this was his phrase, not mine, was theological cowardice.
For us as leaders, I think it's just so important that we engage with this without fear. We will meet pain, we will meet questions, it won't be easy. But actually we shouldn't be afraid of that, because Jesus wasn't, and he will strengthen us in those moments to deal with what we face.
We've failed successive generations by not actually explaining what wonderful news the Bible has about what it means to be human, how sexuality is a gift from God and reflects something of his nature. We've got great news, and we've been silent.
What we're known for is morality and rules. Our young people are clear on rules. They're clear on what we don't do. They are not clear that we come from a position of having a better story, standing on the rock and loving others freely.
By not speaking, we're denying people the opportunity to hear the message of life and to find hope and joy and forgiveness and restoration and life.
We've got this flat, isolated view of the self, which just involves me getting what I want. Or we have this deeper relational view of what it is to be alive, which centers around what it is to enjoy fellowship with the living God. One of these stories is flat, and the other one encompasses the entire cosmos. That is the invitation here to live into this bigger story.
Only God's people, only the church have the message of Jesus to share. So why would we not want to tell people?
I'm puzzled as to why we're keeping quiet about a Jesus who cares for everyone, including people like me who are gay, same-sex attracted. I'm really puzzled as why we're keeping quiet about Jesus who wants to free me and all of us from the bonds of just being sex-obsessed in a really unhelpful way. I want us to be really going out to the world around us and telling them that Jesus loves us and cares for us, and what he has to say about sex, relationships and identity is freeing, is liberating for every single person on this planet.